All right, we're gonna start. All right. So thank you everyone for joining us today as we begin in celebrating Women's History Month. My name is Lee Vasquez, and I'm the coordinator for EPCC's Diversity Inclusion Programs. Currently, Diversity Inclusion Programs is under the direction of Dr. Andrew Peña, Executive Director for Human Resources. Uh, Also here with us is Luz de los Reyes, Administrative Associate for our program and co-host for today. She will be introducing our guest presenter in a few moments. But first, we would like to give a big thanks to Ms. Luz Roberts and Ms. Arlene Alarcon for all of their time and dedication in helping make Women's History Month a success. Without our committee members, we would not be able to provide great speakers or events. Thank you, ladies. And before we continue, I would like to ask everyone to please mute your mics and to possibly turn off your cameras in order to avoid any background noise and not to affect the bandwidth. When the time comes, you will get a chance or the opportunity to ask your questions. Please know that we are also recording this discussion in order to continue sharing this great event. So, as we move forward, I want to turn it over to Ms. Luz to introduce our wonderful speaker for today. Luz.
Thank you, Lee, and thank you, Ms. Lopez, for being here. And today's speaker, is Iris Lopez. She was born and raised in El Paso, Texas. She graduated from the University of Texas at El Paso with a minor in Spanish and a major in multimedia journalism. She began her broadcasting career in radio as Lily Lopez on 104.3 Hit FM in El Paso, Texas. Iris then made the move to TV news, where she was a reporter and weekend evening weather anchor for KVAA TV and the proud creator of the on-air franchise KVIA Sunday Funday Moments. Iris currently works as a digital content creator and on-air personality for Kiss FM Radio in El Paso and continues providing feel-good stories for KVIA TV every Sunday. Iris serves as a board member of the National Alliance on Mental Illness. She was recently awarded Monwood High School's 2021 Outstanding Alumni. She was also awarded the Community Spirit Award for El Paso Community College 13th Annual Literary Fiesta and was most recently named one of the EPCC Hispanic Heritage Mentors by El Paso Community College Diversity and Inclusion Program for her work within the community. Iris was also presented with a House resolution from State Representative Art Fierro and the Texas House Representatives for her community serve and advocacy work within the community. Her passion for empowering women was installed in her at young age by her parents, aunts, and grandmothers. Her passion grew even stronger after the relationships she developed with the other young female broadcasters who were struggling to find a voice in male-dominated business. Iris' passion to inspire and motivate others is due to a large part to her 11-year-old son, Jacob. For Iris, being a mom is one of the greatest accomplishments she has achieved, and it is what continues to motivate her to inspire our youth. Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. Iris, thank you and welcome for being here with us. Um, we open it up to you now.
All righty. Well, thank you very much, Luz, for that introduction. Thank you all for having me to be a part of this, kicking off, Women's History Month, which is an important month, but we got to remind people to celebrate women the other 11 months of the year because we as women are just powerful. We are strong. We still got a long ways to go, but if we come together, I think we'll eventually, our younger generations will have a easier world to live in. So today I'm going to try and use technology, so bear with me. I'm going to How do I, okay, so I can share. I'm going to share a little PowerPoint that just has some bullet points, some quotes that help me get through life when I'm feeling down, and just kind of give you a little bit more detail of what I'm going to talk about. Lee, how do I share it?
On the top, you should have a little square with a little arrow up. You should
Nothing
be able
pops
to,
up on the bottom.
nothing pops up. Hold on, let me see. If not, let me try to.
Yeah, if not, if you're able to handle it, that's fine.
Yeah, let me see.
And then I could just tell you next slide.
All right, that will work. I know we gotta love technology, right?
I know.
All right. So on there, let's see. There you can see that. All right. You gotta bear a little bit with. Of course, our technology is kind of slow here, so
Don't worry.
you gotta.
And while we're doing that, if anyone has questions throughout the presentation, feel free to ask the questions as you want. I don't mind stopping, answering questions. I kind of want to, have a discussion, kind of make it feel you comfortable, make me feel comfortable, and just talk like we're old pals. There's things I want to discuss, that are, going to get in my feelings, because I think it's important for us to talk about our mental health, women in the workforce, and just all the things we're learning to deal with. I wouldn't say struggling, I'll say we're learning to overcome. And so if you have any questions, comments, motivational quotes that you use to get through tough situations, feel free to put them in the chat, and I'll keep looking at that. Or if you just want to say hello.
All right. I think it should be showing on
Yes.
there.
There we go. Perfect. All right. So what I'm going to be talking about today, and when they asked me, what are you going to talk about? I was like, oh, the first thing that popped into my mind is something that I'm still learning, and something that I learned very quick once I turned 30 years old and I actually started my career, and I realized I was a single mom that had to support my son, and I just wasn't loving life. And I'll get more into detail on that, but knowing your worth in your workplace, and knowing when to take a break. That is something I am still currently working on, but it's baby steps. Day by day, I'm learning to say no when there's things that I want to do, but I know I shouldn't, because us as women, sometimes we like to take on a lot because it's just in our nature. And for me, especially after I had my son, I felt like I needed to keep going, and then burnout. It is real. And I think a bunch of us realized that, especially during the pandemic, when we just kept going to try and make a normal life for our children, for our family, but we lacked stopping and taking care of ourselves. We could go to the next slide. So knowing our worth as women when it comes to the work that we do in the workplace, and also knowing when to take a break, as I mentioned, from work or from just any other day-to-day activities, to reset our minds, and as I mentioned, to avoid burnout. So we'll talk about knowing our worth as women when it comes to the workforce first. If you could go to the next slide. This is something I found online when I was doing a little bit of research. It was a quote that I found, and I kind of related to it. And it was something that I was like, a aha moment. All too often, women are told and taught that to be successful in work, they need to act like men and take on masculine qualities. Obviously, that is a terrible idea, because women can, of course, be huge successes without having to pretend to be a man. In fact, there are many amazing qualities that women bring to the workplace, qualities that add value and improve a working environment. This is something that I learned after being in TV news. It really opened up my eyes. That's when I was like, this is my career. I started noticing it was a male-dominated business, and I was just happy to have a job with the degree I got. I got a degree in multimedia journalism. I wanted to tell stories. That's all I wanted to do. I had an internship here in El Paso at a local TV station. They hired me. I was just happy to have a job. I was a single mom. I needed to support my son. And I started in radio. And there, I wasn't really full time, so I didn't really understand the process, like getting paid and contracts and salaries and learning to negotiate. Learning to negotiate was something that I barely learned when I was probably about a few years ago. And it's something that I'm still working on. But when I started working in TV news, male-dominated business, it was most recently towards the end when I started seeing my, coworkers that were female and the male. Females were doing a lot more work, and the males that weren't doing as much, that the females had to pick up their slack, they were getting paid more. There's it's taboo to talk about, about your salary, and a lot of people don't like to because they're afraid, oh no, you're going to go and, get me in trouble because I'm getting paid more than you. It's not really about getting you in trouble. It's just about knowing your worth. And there was one incident where my coworker realized that her fellow coworker, that was a male, was getting paid more than her. And all of us knew that is not right because she was a hard worker. She worked horrible hours, but she did it because she loved the job and because she was just so good at it. Well, when she asked, I heard that their salary is more than mine. I believe I deserve to get paid at least equally, if not more. Their response was, well, it's harder for us. It's more difficult for us to find males in the TV world. So, to entice them to come in, we kind of pay them more. That was no excuse in my mind, honestly. If you can't find the males, then just hire more females because obviously they'll be able to do the job sometimes even better. Not to say the men don't do a great job. There are men in the business that make more than me because they deserve it. But it was something that we had to learn our worth and we had to know to speak up. But as a woman in the workplace, you get nervous, especially if for me, it was hard for me to speak up about anything because I couldn't lose my job. I am a single mother. I needed an income, and the money I made was still living paycheck to paycheck. So the thought of me speaking up because I know my worth is a little bit more valuable than what they do could jeopardize my career, and they can, because we're all replaceable. Unfortunately, in jobs, we are all replaceable. Our positions are, but I've learned that you can replace someone in my position, but you can't really replace a person. And I think that's the beauty of women. We are nurturing, we are strong, we handle things a little bit different. So you can replace us with a male, but it's just going to be something completely different. So it wasn't until working, as I mentioned, in that business, hearing my colleagues' discussions, frustrations, that I realized, man, equal pay is something that we've been fighting for years, but it wasn't until I turned in my 30s that I realized we have to do something about it. And me, Hi Yes You Can, the platform that I have is kind of just to give women a platform, to give us kind of a support group, because you sometimes we're afraid to speak up in the workplace. As I mentioned, you're afraid that your job is in jeopardy. But when you have people behind you, other women behind you, and you know what, sometimes there's even men behind you that are like, yeah, you deserve to get paid more than I do, you do more. You just feel more powerful because we can be our own worst enemies. No, well, maybe it's because they did this better and they deserve that. We find a way to make it feel okay that the other person, our counterpart, is getting paid more, when in reality, we need to know our worth. We need to go in there with confidence. And if they're threatening to quit, if they're threatening to fire you, then so be it. I'm going to find another place that's going to value what I know I'm worth. We could go to the next one. So these were some of the top 5 issues I found when doing a little bit of research for working women around the world. And I looked at all of these, and for the most part, most of them are things that I did deal with when working. I started working in restaurants, male-dominated. It opened my eyes to harassment. It opened my eyes to how men treated women. And after working in the restaurant business, I went into car dealership, completely male dominated business there. I learned a lot. I learned I had to be tough because I was young too. I was 18, working around a bunch of older men. You know, there was some that took care of me, and then there was some that was like, oh, she's just this young girl. Didn't take me serious. Then from there, I went into radio, and I was thankful to start my broadcasting career in a radio station that had nothing but men around me, but they taught me a lot. It was that place where they taught me, they treated me like their little sister, but they still treated me equal. They still would tell me, you know, I had dreams of, I remember I would always go audition for The Voice. I had dreams of still becoming a famous superstar, and they would push me like, yeah, you can do it, you can do it. You know, they would even get me on air and be like, sing for us, you know. And it was there where I realized that, you know, men, there are men in this world that do want to support women, that do want to encourage women, that you can be amazing, because they think we all deserve to live in an equal world. And I'm thankful that I started my broadcasting career at that radio station with those men who kind of prepared me for my next step in life, because I learned to be stronger, I learned to be tougher, but still not too tough. I still had my, you know, my mom tensions. Like, I still wanted to be kind to people. I still wanted to treat people as if we were all equal. Then I went into TV news, and going from radio to TV news was a completely different beast, I say, especially when my son was a baby. He was a toddler at that time, so it was challenging because I had to learn work-life balance. I was a single mom, still wanted to have my friends, still wanted to have relationships. I had my child there that I needed to care for, and I still wanted to have that job that I dreamed of. When I was younger, I wanted to tell stories. I wanted to tell the news, and I went to school for that, and I didn't want to give up. Just because I had a child doesn't mean I have to give up on my dreams, and I still, to this day, it's a struggle, but I like showing my son that no matter what obstacles are thrown your way, you can still do what you want to do. It's just going to be a little bit more difficult. I'm probably going at a slower pace than my other coworkers who don't have children, and that's why I always tell them, you don't have any children, anything tying you down right now, you know, push harder. You can do it, because it does take me a little bit longer, but eventually I know I'm going to get to where I want to be. But work-life balance was something, especially in the TV world, it's hard to turn off, you know, what's happening. Someone says, oh, there's this breaking news story. Whether I was in the middle of dinner, whether I was in the middle of watching a show with my son, I'd grab the phone, social media, I need to post about it, I need to get the details. And it really impacted my son. It really did. Him and I. But I think I was blind to it. It wasn't until, you know, he would cry for me, you know, and he wasn't a baby anymore. Once I was in TV news, he was older, 10 years old, and I was, you know, he was this tough little boy, but he still needed his mom. And I had to stop and pause. And that's kind of why I was in TV news for 7 years. And I loved it. I thought I was great at it. When people asked, why are you going to leave something that you love, that you're so great at? And I said, because, you know, my quality of life is a little bit more important to me right now. I'm 34 years young, and there's days where I feel like I am 20 years older than what I really am, because I'm putting all that pressure on myself, because I feel like I need to run when it's all right to, like, you know, just walk at a slower pace, run at a slower pace, because as I mentioned, I'm going to get there eventually. So when the pandemic happened, I think that opened a lot of people's eyes. For me, I was thankful. My son loved it. I mean, not that he loved the pandemic, but he loved, if you're going to look at the silver lining of things, a lot of parents that work a lot were forced to be home, work from home. And my son loved that mom was there. He still had to do schoolwork. I still had to do my work, but mom was there. And that really opened my eyes, you know. And then once we slowly started going back to work, it was nice to go back to regular life. But then I started going back. The work-life balance just wasn't there, because I said, okay, now I got to pick up from where I left off, where the pandemic slowed us down. And then when my contract was going to be over, I had to make a huge decision. And that decision was to leave a job that I loved, a job that was kind to me at times and that taught me a lot. But my quality of life just wasn't there for my son. And he's getting older, and there's going to be a point where he isn't going to cry for mom anymore. He's going to want to go with his friends. So while I have him now, I said, I'm going to take a little break, but not really a full break. I was able to save a little bit of money, enough money to get me by for a few months, but I was still struggling at times. But it was just still enough to take a break. He loved that I was always home, but he knew at one point it's going to end. Mom's going to find a job because she has to. And now I'm back in radio, which the quality of life is a lot better. I am able to have a work-life balance. He enjoys it, I enjoy it, but I'm still learning. I'm still learning how to kind of balance it and how to, turn off work. One big thing, and I think in the TV news world especially, is a lot of us don't know when you clock out, you clock out. And we need to remind ourselves that you clocked out, you're not getting paid for it. Because then later on, you're going to say, well, I did all this work when I wasn't supposed to. Well, no one forced you to, You think you just have to, but sometimes it's okay if someone else beats you to it. I clocked out and I enjoyed my time with my family. And I think that's one thing I'm still learning, but I think that's one thing we as women have a difficult time, work-life balance, because it's, our family, we want to care for them as much as we can. But then at work, we feel like we have to prove ourselves and we can't. I need to take a break because I need to care for my family. Oh no, what are they going to think? The men don't have to do that. So I think if we're able to come to terms that it's all right to clock out and we're done with it, because we have a life. We have a life to live. Let me go to, there we go. Equal pay. As I mentioned, the equal pay was something that opened my eyes, and that was just recently with my coworker. And then when, more people were talking about their pay, and that's when you were able to compare the workload. Well, I do more than this, just the explanations just weren't there. And that's when I realized I needed to get out of that business. And every other business, every other job, when I would apply for new jobs, first thing I was like, I know what I'm worth. It took me a while to realize I know what I'm worth. I know what I can offer you. What you're offering me as pay is not what I want. And there was plenty of jobs that I turned down that I'm like, and I struggled. I was like, oh my God, you only have enough money to survive and you only have 1 month to find a job. But I wasn't going to jump into another job that was going to pay me less than what I was making before, or, the same and no perks to it. So learning to fight for my worth was something that I had to do. And I'm proud of myself. My job right now, I was able to negotiate something that I'm comfortable with, that I feel like the worth is there. And then it's even better because the work-life balance, the quality of life is a lot better. Harassment, as I mentioned, we as women, unfortunately, it's something we deal with even in work, out of work. Working in the restaurant business really taught me a lot. I was young. I was like 17, 18. We had, older people working with us. And I remember one specific time when I was working. I guess everyone, was friends. They were friendly. And I had just started, but I was friendly too. Joked around with everyone. I knew how to handle jokes because they were just jokes, but I knew how to shut them down or shut them up when they needed to. They were going too far. And one time there was a server, friendly with everyone, friendly guy, who just decided to spank me on the butt. And I remember the look on his face when I gave him that mom look. I gave him that mom stare. That was the first time anyone had done that. And that's the last time anyone had done that. I turned around and I said, don't you ever do that again. He said, oh, I'm just joking. I do that to all the girls here. And I said, you don't do that to me. We can be friends, but not like that. And his face just, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, no one has ever done that to him. And after that, I realized you got to set your boundaries. We have to learn to set our boundaries. Sometimes we're going to be called a bitch, but that's fine. You can think of me as that if that means you're never going to do that to me again. That was the first time, as I mentioned, that was the last time anyone did that. After that, I knew you got to be stronger. You got to be tougher. It's unfortunate that we have to be like that we have to put our guard up, but it's something that I had to learn the hard way. The next one was the career opportunities. As I mentioned, for me, I was picky with my next career choice, and I think we're allowed to be picky. Sometimes it's unfortunate because we need to find the next job because we need to support our family. But sometimes I think if we have a backup plan, and that's what I learned, I was able to save a little bit of money to find the right career that I wanted. And even I hate saying male dominated business, and I think there's going to be a point where it's not male dominated businesses anymore. It's equal. There's the same amount of women and men, or it's a woman dominated business. I think one point I'm going to manifest that one point we can get to that point. And then you have children and career. I mean, for me, that was the biggest struggle, because thankfully my son was older when I started getting into TV and radio. I thankfully had my family, but there are people who don't, and they have to rely on childcare. Childcare is just ridiculously expensive. And I don't think jobs understand that. You're paying for rent, you're paying for childcare, which is almost at sometimes the same as your rent. You still got to pay for car, you got to pay for food. Even if you get help from the government, which I did at one point, would get help from the government, which was tremendously helpful. And I would think, if I wasn't getting this, I don't know how I would have put food on the table for my son and I, without having to ask family members to help us. But that's why I think when we're looking into careers, we have to know our worth. We have to know what we can provide the job with, why we deserve what we should get paid. And we should go in there with, I am a woman that has to take care of a child, so you should want to pay me more, because there are things that I got to pay for that some people don't have to, but I'm going to show you why you should pay me more. That's where knowing your worth comes in. The next one. Now, burnout, knowing when to take a break. As I mentioned, this is something I'm still learning. And my family will tell you, yes, it's something she's still learning, but it's little celebrations. And it sounds, as corny as it sounds, I'll text my sister, I said no to something. And she's like, what do you mean? I'm like, I actually said no. Because for me, it was always just, can you help me with this? Can you do this? Can you do that? Can you do this? Yes, to everyone. Because as a mom, as a woman, I felt like I needed to. I felt like I couldn't stop. Because if I stopped, then the memento was going to stop. And no, I just can't stop. I have to say yes to everyone. And then I realized when you say no, the world doesn't end. And they kindly will say, okay, well, next time we'll come back. And there is a next time, and they will come back, and you'll be like, hey, now I can help you with that. And that's something I slowly had to learn. But early signs of burnout, and this is something how I knew I was burning out. Exhaustion, loss of enthusiasm for work. I remember for me, I had so much to do, but I would just lay on the couch. Like my body was like, you have to finish that article. You have to do this interview in a little bit. You still have to cook dinner for your son. Yeah, but you just don't. My body was just like in another world. And I specifically remember laying on the couch, but my body just wouldn't move. I just had no enthusiasm for anything. I didn't have my son for the day. Friends would be like, let's go out. No, I'd rather just lay here on the couch and do nothing. And then that's when you're left alone with your thoughts. And now I tell people I can't be left alone with my thoughts, because I just start worrying about everything and nothing gets done. So if I'm moving, it helps me. But when you're burnt out, it's just, you just don't want to do anything. Reduced work performance. I would get the work done, but behind the scenes, I was there doing it an hour before it had to get done. On air, looked great, everything, but I was the one who suffered because I didn't have the motivation, I didn't have the energy to do it. But as a woman, I knew I had to get it done, and it was going to get done. But procrastination is something that I am still trying to work on as well, because sometimes I am able to, sometimes when I procrastinate, I do some amazing work, but I'm like, yeah, but at what cost? You were up to like 2 a.m. doing it when you could have done it throughout the week and still had great quality and still at sleep. Worry and anxiety, that is something I think as a mom, I'm always going to worry and I'm always going to have anxiety. But most recently, I do take medication for depression and anxiety, but there was a point where I wasn't taking it And then my moods were just all over the place. I didn't take it because I thought, I don't need to take this stuff. Now I've come to terms that, look, it's fine. Not everyone's perfect. Your imperfections are what make you who you are. And as much, I'm still always going to worry, but my anxiety would just turn me into a whole other person. And my son would notice too. And once my son starts to notice, that's when I realize, okay, got to suck it up, swallow your pride, and do this for yourself, for your career, and for your son. Sleep problems, as I mentioned, I would procrastinate, which means I would go to sleep at 2 o'clock, wake up late, then my whole day is gone. Irritability and mood swings. Yes, I would wake up, and even before someone would message me, I'm like, someone's going to get on my nerves today. And I knew it was all burnout. And I know one specific, when I just had a meltdown, was, and my parents had to calm me down. And I told them I was switching careers, and I thought, is this, no, I can't, is this even right? Is this what I'm supposed to do? I was doing too much, and I just broke down. And it was the scariest thing for my son to see his mom break down. And that's when I knew I needed to slow down, because I specifically remember my son asking me, Mom, are you ever going to be happy? And I was just like, wow. Like, he asked me, like, point blank, not picking on me, just, are you ever going to be happy? And I thought, man, am I? I was doing too much because I thought that that's what I needed to do. Because again, if I stopped the momentum, people would forget about me. No one would want to hire me. I have to show them that I can't stop. And it was at that point when he asked me that, my parents said, you need to slow down, because if you don't, you're only going to hurt yourself, and you need to be here for your son. As dramatic as that sounds, my son was worried that he was going to lose me because I just couldn't stop. And when I tell people that I'm a workaholic, I'm like, I'm not joking, I really am. But these things, I'm still learning, but I think for people that are barely starting to feel them, if you're able to catch it before, you're running and you can't slow yourself down, I think it is the best thing to do, especially when you have a little one or little ones to care for. I think it's something that us as women, we just feel like we have to keep going. We have to prove ourselves, especially in male-dominated businesses, because look at them. They don't slow down, and they do it with ease. I have to keep up to their momentum, or else they're going to forget about me. They're going to give the job to someone else. But then you realize, well, then that job wasn't for you. If it's putting that much stress on you, then it wasn't for you. So burnout is real. And I know some people are like, oh, you're just being dramatic. And it's like, no, it really opened my eyes when my son said that to me. And when my parents looked at me like, girl, you're not the same Iris you were years ago or even months ago. And I just had no interest in anything. And saying no was my first step. As little as it sounds, it's those little things you got to congratulate yourself for. Saying no, having Friday night date nights with my son. He was excited that, I had a job where that allowed me to actually disconnect. Once I'm off, 7 o'clock hits, I'm done. Turn off the phone. If there's something, it can wait. And I had to learn that. And it took my 11-year-old son to teach me that. And still learning, as I mentioned, but I think I've gone a long way from where I was a few years ago. The next slide. So this is a quote that I have to remind myself all the time. Be gentle with yourself. We are so hard on ourselves. We are our own worst enemies. And to this day, my mom will always tell me that, I did something. Oh, you did great, Mija. You did amazing, this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but I could have done better. And I pinpoint and I pick out all the horrible things that I thought I did that absolutely no one noticed. but we are just our own worst. We can be our own worst enemies. We're always going to be our toughest critic, which is fine, because it's nice to, you know, remind yourself, you know, staying humble is key. So you can have your moments where you're like, you know what, I rocked that performance, but next time, you know, I could change this a little bit. But start off your day by complimenting yourself. As corny as that sounds, I remember I had a friend who was struggling, and she would wake up in the mornings and just start her negative thoughts. And I said, well, the way you start your day is really how the rest of your day can go. So I can wake up in the morning and feel like, oh, I'm tired today. I'm going to have a horrible day. You look hideous today, this and that. That's how the rest of your day is going to go. So whenever I start feeling like that, I will look in the mirror and just compliment myself. Just yell. My dogs don't like it when they're like, who is she yelling at? I'm cheering myself on, and I think we should be our biggest cheerleaders. We can be our toughest critics sometimes, but I think first and foremost, we as women should always be our biggest cheerleaders. And then followed by your family, friends that cheer you on. You got to surround yourself with a group of people that are going to cheer you on instead of, oh, she got what I wanted, or no, you're not that great at it. Honesty is key, but also too, if they know it's something that you're working towards, they got to, you know, support you and cheer yourself on. So just be kind to your mind is something I like to say too. We only got one mind. We have to be as kind as we can to it, and we have to be gentle with ourselves before, you know, we can be gentle with anyone else. If I hate myself, what makes me think the next person that I meet, I'm gonna love them when I don't even love myself? Next slide. And then as far as, I think you have to click it again because I think there's like something, there we go. This is a quote too that I love. I always love, you know, especially during Women's History Month, and we're coming up on International Women's Day. She's not your competition. She's proof that it can be done. The reason I created Mija Yes You Can was to just have a group of women come together and support each other. Society likes to pit us together, you know, and jobs do that too still. Well, there is this job position open, but I might give it to you or her, you know, and they're already planting the seed there for you to think this is a competition. I got to be better than her. No, you can, you know, this is they're looking at both of us. Hey, how can we work together to see how you can get better, you can get better. And if she gets the job, she got the job. Like my mom always tells me, that wasn't your path, that wasn't your journey. Something better is in the works for you. So you got to cheer them on. Even though sometimes that was the position you wanted or that was what you wanted, it's nice to cheer other people on, because when you get something that someone else wants, you want them to cheer you on. So I think if we're able to cheer each other on and realize that it's not a competition, you know, sometimes there are friendly competitions, but in life, if we're able to realize that she's not just the competition, she's proof that it can get done. You see someone doing something, I can do that, or I can do something like that. But I saw that she was able to get through it. I thought that she was able to do it. So thank you, you know, and there's women, and that's what this whole month is about, the women that paved the way for us to get to where we want to go, what we want to do. And I'm thankful that we have this month. As I mentioned, I hope people celebrate women all of their 11 months, but this month especially, we're able to highlight women that helped pave the way for us. And, you know, we're going to be someone's motivation in the future. And I think that's something that's beautiful and something that I look forward to. I think that was the last slide.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was the
that was the
last.
last slide.
Yeah. So that I just wanted to end it off with that. I don't know if there's any questions, comments, concerns.
Yeah, if there's any questions, feel free to type them in the chat box or raise your hand and you can ask your question. Iris, I want to say that, you know, thank you for everything you said, and it's right, you know, there's different stages on each person, you know, and one of the things is that I really like that you said kind of is that you can set your own timeline, you know, because that's a whole thing. A lot of people are not ready to go to right out of high school to go to college or anything like that. They need to find themselves and stuff. So I think that's very important to highlight that, because yeah, people are going to be doing their own thing, and you don't have to complete it at a certain time. By the time you're 20 something, you have to finish this and that. So I think that's pretty good. And your organization helping other women, to empower, I think that's very, very good and strong. So thank you for that.
And that's the one thing too. I think society nowadays, at this age you have to be married. At this age you have to have kids. At this age you should have your career, or you shouldn't even have a career because you should be caring for your family. And I think now we've already broken those stereotypes, and there's no age limit. There's women that are in their 40s having kids doing amazing. There's women that decided to start their families at a young age, and they're doing amazing too. So yeah, everyone's timeline is different. And I think that's something I had to get used to too. I see my girlfriends getting married, having their families. Well, my timeline is a little bit different than them because my interests are somewhere different. So you can't compare yourself to everyone else. Oh, I see. How can we get involved with MIHA? Yes, you can. So we're always looking for other strong women to join us with volunteer work and operational volunteers. So operational volunteers, you kind of are a little more hands-on, and you help us with our pop-ups, any events we have, and then volunteers, whenever you're able to, you can, join us for events that we do have. And we have all that information on our website, mihayesYouCan.org, and there you can apply to be a volunteer or an operational volunteer.
Hi, Iris. This is Maribel. I think you're an inspiration for young Hispanic women and moms. And certainly, I think we need inspiration, to do the things we want to do and see how other women did it. I follow you on KVIA, and I absolutely enjoy the Sunday Funday moments.
Thank you. I love doing them.
I like your shirt, and so you are the founder of Mija Yes You Can. How this relates to the self-employed? I read somewhere that it's Mija Yes You Can self-employed.
How does it relate to what was that again?
Self-employed or self-employed.
Oh, self-employed. So when I founded this, I had the option because I have a shirt. We have merchandise. People were like, you can make it a business or you can make it a nonprofit. For me, I just wanted it to be something that helped other women. I was like, maybe years down the road, if the ultimate goal is to make this my career, sure, but later down the road. So right now it's just a nonprofit. But even though we're a nonprofit, it's still like a business. So in a sense, I'm kind of self-employed. However, it's not paying me. So I still had to find another career. But I was able to learn a lot from it. Things that I think I wouldn't have learned if I didn't start the Mija Yes You Can. But it's a lot of work. But the beautiful thing is that we have a bunch of women that had the same passion, and now they're 2 years into it. I don't do half as much of the work as I did 1 year ago because they're just willing to donate their time, donate their efforts, donate their talents because they believe in the message.
Okay. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Are there any other questions? Anybody else like to ask Iris? Well, one of the things that while we wait for people to kind of gather their questions and stuff, Iris, I wanted to ask you, and thank you for being, open about, kind of like having that, that you were not okay and all that stuff, you're not perfect and stuff. What can you tell to people that are feeling that way and can't find, where to go or anything like that? Do you guys have some places that they can go to or reach out, or what should they do if they're feeling that overwhelmed with work and everything?
Oh, definitely. For me, NAMI of El Paso helped me out a lot. They helped me in the sense they helped me, and I don't even think they knew they were helping me. I had searched for, because I didn't know either, you know, we had the internet. I was just like, I wanted to be a part of an organization that had people that were spreading, you know, that had the same issues, that were looking for the same cause, work for the same cause. So I just Googled mental health in El Paso, and that's when NAMI popped up. Sent them a message. Then, you know, they found out that I had worked in TV news, and told them my story. And they were like, well, would you mind sharing your story with other people? I was like, yeah, sure. You know, everyone's different though. I'm an open book. So that's just how I was raised. That's just how I am. There's times where I wish I wasn't such an open book, but it's allowed me to relate to other people. And so I would tell my story, you know, like nothing. And people are like, how were you able to do that? That's just me. That's just how I was. But if someone's able to come up to me, you know, and say, well, I've been feeling this way too. And it just takes finding that one person that you can talk to that won't judge you. And so NAMI of El Paso, the National Alliance on Mental Illness, has plenty of programs. They even for family, because sometimes it's our families that we want to go talk to, but they're the hardest to talk to about these issues, especially in the Hispanic culture. You're fine. Nothing's wrong with you. You're just this and that, you know? So NAMI of El Paso can help you. They can help your family as well. And it's just finding someone that won't judge you, whether it's a friend, whether it's a complete stranger, sometimes even someone that knows nothing about your life, but is willing to listen and give advice when needed, is a huge help.
Yeah. And what about like when you're in the workplace and you feel like all these emotions and stuff like that? Is it good to show your emotions at work? Or do you wanna?
When I started in TV news, I remember, and that's why I was like, I just can't do the hard news. I remember I had the first big one was I had to go to a funeral of a little 5-year-old boy, and I had a 5-year-old boy at that time. So I felt like it was too close for comfort. And the whole time I was doing the interview, I was crying. And they told me, you know, you're a reporter, your job is to report it. And I'm like, yeah, but I'm human too. And it was just something I couldn't change. There are people that are able to do that, and kudos to them. But I was like, I want people to know I'm human. I'm interviewing them at a funeral. The least I could do is, you know, show some emotion. But there are times where we do have to learn, you know, I can't show emotion all the time. Can't be crying while I'm giving the weather. It's going to be a horrible day today. No, we have to know when to kind of control it. But there are times where it's okay to be human. We all cry. We all get angry. We're just human. All right. Like I said, it's our imperfections that make us who we are. So just learning when to express yourself, and when, you know, to save it for home or something.
Yeah, and I know that on here we do have some students with us. Is there any advice that you want to give to our students, our young ladies that, you know, they're going right now through school and, you know, through college and everything? Because I know that we have some students in the audience.
I mean, just what we were talking about earlier, don't compare your journey, your path to anyone else's. So if you need to take a break, you know, like I finished 2 years, but I think I need to take a little break, take a break. But remind yourself that you can come back and feel even more energized. Like I mentioned, burnout is real. And if you start feeling those signs, maybe it's time to take that break, because if you hold it up, bottle it up, it'll just explode when you least expect it, and when, you know, it doesn't. I would say make friends, get involved with your school, with events that are happening in your school. And there's also, I know in campuses, they have outlets for you too, if you're feeling, you know, like not okay. You can speak to teachers, you can speak to people on campus, the counselors that they have there, people for you to talk to. It's just about talking and not holding it in, and speaking with someone that can help you, or just listening. Sometimes all we need is someone to listen.
Are there any like events? Can you tell us a little bit about like the events that Mija Yes You Can has held or will be holding soon?
So we're actually going to be turning 2 years old on March 8th, International Women's Day. I will be we're having an event on the west side of town. It's going to be with me, Marina. She works with Barracuda PR here in El Paso. And then we have Zoe, who works with Chica Chat she's a nonprofit here in El Paso too that focuses on business and empowering women that want to start their own business. We're just gonna have a conversation on things that we dealt with in the workplace. And the best part of it, all of that event was handled, dealt with, created. It was a male who wanted to put this event on, and he said, I'm going to take care of it. I just want I want to learn. He wanted to learn. And there's times where we wouldn't get back to him, and I'd be like, man, he has a lot of patience. But that's why, there are men out there that really want to support us and show us we can do it. We can all be equal. And that event I'm looking forward to on the 8th. And then we're going to have our birthday celebration on the 13th of March. So we'll be posting more information on that on our social media accounts. And for that one, we're going to have a Mija market at Chico Relic. And it's going to be nothing but women-owned businesses. And we're going to be collecting feminine hygiene products for women so we can hand them out to the schools. Because in the schools, sometimes, there's young girls there that are dealing with changes. They don't know what's going on. And sometimes they have to pay for the items that they need when they don't even know what's happening. So we're going to donate them to some schools around El Paso so girls won't have to pay for those items. And if you bring a donation of a feminine hygiene product, you'll get a free meal. We're going to have some of our Mijas cooking hot dogs, chips. It's just going to be a big party, us celebrating our 2-year anniversary, but most importantly, thanking the community for being with us for 2 years.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's great. That's amazing. And then I know that just a few days you had also like a proclamation, I guess, for women engineers, right? Did you want to say a little bit about that?
Yeah, so that was, and you all had your proclamation too, which it's a sign. I believe in signs. So I was like, it's all meant to be. So this was our 2nd year partnering with UTEP, El Paso Electric, and TxDOT of El Paso. And our involvement in it was to help with young girls. So on Girl Day, it's Girl Day and introduce a Girl to Engineering Day. So they have Engineering Week, which was all last week or the week before, last week, 2 weeks ago. Engineering Week, which you celebrate engineers, males and females, and just the amazing contribution they do to our community. So we celebrated engineers from TxDOT, UTEP engineering students, professors, and from El Paso Electric as well. But for us on Girl Day, it was a conference that we held where it was female engineers, and they talked about their struggle, they talked about their accomplishments. And this was the 2nd year we did it, and just last year it was amazing, and this year it just got like even better. And it's just a bunch of young girls. We're trying to tell them that engineering is a male-dominated business, and sometimes girls feel, I don't want to be an engineer. That's not for me. But you can be an engineer, and our partnership is specifically for that day to remind young girls, Mija, yes, you can be an engineer if you want to be an engineer, just to kind of give them an insight on it and show them the different types of engineering too. We had one girl who worked for Xbox, and she was the only female there, and hearing her story was just amazing. Then we had others that were 1st generation college graduates that are engineers making thousands of dollars, and it was just beautiful to see all those girls together.
I think that's awesome. Is there anything from our audience? Any last questions from our audience? We'll give them a few. They've been kind of quiet right now, but
and that probably answered them all in that presentation. I hope so.
Which is great. Yeah. Well, as we get kind of closed up already, because it's already going to be close to 1, I want to say thank you, Iris, for being here with us. Is there anything that you would like to finish up with or anything like that?
We can find all the information. Oh, yes, Alejandra, yes. On our website, we'll have all the information. And then on social media, too, we're going to post flyers that have all the details and everything. So we'll definitely keep you updated for that. Elena, thank you for sharing your story. It's great help. You're welcome. I guess my last thing would be, I hope I inspired someone, because for me growing up, it was hard for me to find someone that was like me, someone that I could relate to. And I think that's my mission in life. If I'm able to relate to someone, if I'm able to help someone do what they've been wanting to do, and they can say, you helped me out. That's it. I don't need you to pay me millions. I don't need wine bottles. I just need assurance that women are doing it. And my job is done if I'm able to do that.
Oh, that's great, and it's a great message. Um, so thank you, Iris, for being with us here today. Let me go over a few things before we leave. Um, Hold on, let me see. Let me try to make this a little bit bigger. But like I said, we did put the Facebook page. I mean your web page address on our chat. So if you wanted to reach out for any of those events for Mija, yes you can. It's in our chat on there. We do want to continue like the celebration. Like we said, March is Women's History Month. This is our fourth annual for here for EPCC. Next week we will be having Susie Zambrano, also from Mija, yes you can. So she has a great conversation, kind of going along with what we talked a little bit about today. So in case you're thinking of like changing careers or kind of finding a new direction, I think that that'll be a great presentation. It will be March 9th from noon to 1 once again. And then after spring break, we're going to take a little break from in spring break. But then when we come back, we'll have March 23rd, we're going to have Nora Garcia from EPAA. She's going to be doing some drum relaxation stuff. And then we end the month with Leticia Arellano, who is breaking the rules in her 40s, in the 40s. So she's going to be doing some makeup, kind of like she's a makeup enthusiast. She's going to be talking a little bit about makeup, how to feel confident in yourself, and everything like that. So those are events that are coming up for our Women's History Month. Also, we wanted to kind of also let our students know and anybody on here spread the word. We still have the Black History Month scholarship that is available for people to apply. But we also kind of going along with the Adelante Mujer. So be on the lookout for that. Thank you to the EPCC Foundation to helping us with these scholarships. So please apply for these scholarships. You could go to our epcc.edu/scholarships or financial aid webpage to find those and apply. Also, contact us for diversity and inclusion. There's the information for Dr. Peña, myself, and Luz. Feel free to reach out to us. Also, we are going to be doing a survey. So, Luz, if you could please place the survey on our chat right now. Go ahead and click there on the survey and let us know how we did. Who would you like to see as presenters? It's your opportunity to kind of let us know what you want diversity and inclusion to do. Also, visit us on Facebook and Instagram. That's where we post all our events, anything that's coming up. So make sure to like us on Facebook and Instagram. And then for future workshops, please go to our epcc.edu/services/diversity webpage. And we would like to thank everybody for being here with us today and joining us for this great, wonderful talk. All right. Thank you, Iris, once again, like I mentioned. And we'll see you all next Wednesday. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Iris.
Thank you, Iris.
Thank you all for having me. I was on mute.